Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fiume, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founder of urSwim, Marina Mentzel. Marina, how are you today?
So good. How are you, Frank?
Great seeing you again. It's been a while.
Yes. Too long.
All right, Marina, well, why don't you tell us all about urSwim? What do you guys do, and how did you start the company?
Awesome. So I founded urSwim about 10 years ago. I had always been a lifeguard, a swim instructor since a teenager. And from a very young age, I just recognized immediately the need and the demand for high quality swim instruction and high quality lifeguards. And it kind of put me on this journey while I was in college. And eventually I actually went through law school of just really kind of diving into the industry, always kind of tapping in to see what was going on. And it kind of just like never left me. And as soon as I had the opportunity, I launched urSwim, which consists of swim instruction and lifeguard staffing for both our consumers and our commercial clients.
All right, cool. Now, I know a little bit about what your company does, as you and I have met before, but I think there's another dimension to your company I'd love for you to kind of talk about as a franchisee, how they go about or the facilities that they use, because it's not just people that are going to somebody's backyard and teaching their child how to swim.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it was about really meeting the customer where they needed us. And we basically do that in three ways. First is our at-home swim instruction. So we have certified lifeguards and certified instructors that go to our customers' backyard pools. Next was our non-brick-and-mortar model, meaning that we leverage relationships with national fitness gyms, local community pools, and we put our swim program in those facilities.
So Marina, it sounds like you've been doing this for about 10 years, or I should say you were doing this for about 10 years before you started to franchise the business. What led you up to that moment that you decided, hey, this is something I can franchise?
Yeah, I think for me, as I began to scale our own corporate locations, I just knew that that business model really required an owner that was invested in the community and really wanted to deliver impact to the customers they were serving. And as I thought about how I would grow and how I wanted to kind of scale the concept, franchising felt like the right way to do it. So I really went back to my law school days. I delved into how to start a franchise, what it meant to be a franchisor, what type of capital I would need to really launch the brand, and sort of all the other resources I'd have to put together. And in 2022, I decided to go for it. And then we sold our first franchisee in 2023 and are looking forward to bringing on new, amazing franchisees to our organization.
Congrats. And as you probably found out, you realize you're no longer in the swim school business, right? You're in the franchise business.
Yeah. I mean, they say it and, you try to prepare as best as you can. I have been an owner and operator for, like you said, about 10 years. So I was very comfortable being an entrepreneur and, leading my own organization. But when you put your franchisor hat on, it really becomes about delivering support to the franchisee. There's something in me that always truly loved mentoring my staff and mentoring the people around me. So having the opportunity to provide support to the franchisee is probably one of the best parts of being a franchisor. I have learned a lot in my 1 year of being a franchisor, but it has truly been such a rewarding process. And I am so looking forward to, expanding and learning sort of what's required to really take the brand to the next level.
Sure. Well, now you're able to impact so many more people, of course, by having a franchise owner doing that work and them also getting the reward of being a franchise owner.
Oh, I know. I say it all the time. I think 10 years ago, I really kind of started at franchising, I probably would have been an amazing, not probably, definitely would have been an amazing franchisee. Anytime someone's like, hey, I'm really interested in launching a brand, I'm always advocating for like, have you considered buying a franchise? Because the type of support, the type of resources, the type of leverage a really strong organization has is going to pay tenfold in the future versus just kind of bootstrapping from the beginning, which was my experience.
Right.
So to your point, yes, like franchising really does create such an impact if done correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the things I think you did that was many things you did fantastic, but one of the things that I want to point out is in terms of opening the company-owned locations first, to want to make sure that this is something that works and you can repeat it. So I understand you've got, 3 corporate locations, right? 2 in Long Island, and then you opened 1 in Connecticut. So would you share with the audience, why did you pick the one in Connecticut?
Yeah, for us, it was about really understanding how the business model function in different marketplaces. So again, I consider our corporate locations like that's where we're doing our R&D. That's where we're going to make those mistakes so our franchisee doesn't have to. And we spent 10 years retooling the system so that I felt comfortable putting my name on the brand and ultimately, scaling it as a franchise. So for us, Connecticut specifically, I had a mentor tell me, Marina, you have to make sure this is not lightning in a box. Maybe this is just something that really resonates in the Long Island community and won't resonate outside your geographic area. I knew in my gut that wasn't the case. So I wanted to prove him wrong. And I decided to launch in Connecticut, and we've been super successful there. And our first franchisee actually owns a Connecticut location. So swimming is something at the industry level that parents do not sacrifice for their children. Drowning is the leading cause of accidental death for children under the age of 12. So there's such a demand in our space. There's plenty of room for new competitors to enter because the demand is just too large.
Yeah, no, you're providing a great service. And there are a lot of swim schools, and there's a lot of swim school franchise as well. So Marina, how have you figured out how to differentiate yourself?
Yeah, so again, we are a non-brick-and-mortar franchise. So what that means is the investment for a franchisee is going to be between $75,000 and $100,000. So for us, it was like, how do we scale efficiently and quickly? And, unfortunately, with the brick-and-mortar swim school models, they are extremely costly. And there's a lot of maintenance, associated with operating a swim school. For us, it was about let's focus less on the operational aspects and the mechanics of a pool. And let's really focus and dial down on our curriculum, our educators, our coaches. Like, how do we improve their skills, their resources, and, make sure that our customer is really getting, a top tier instructor. And we found that leveraging these existing facilities allows us to really invest our resources in other places that perhaps the brick and mortars, don't have access to. The other thing that I would say that makes us, different than those in our category, so the non-brick and mortar swim school concepts, is that we have leveraged putting lifeguards in commercial pools. It is such a need, and we have the skills to really curate that talent pool. So what we've discovered is we can take our lifeguards, our swim instructors, and, have them work out of a commercial pool like an HOA, a hotel, and provide such a benefit to those commercial clients who really are out of their comfort zone in trying to hire, certify, and train that staff. So for us here, it's really about our consumers. Those are the ones, that we're teaching swim instruction to, and our commercial clients. Those are the businesses that we're providing those lifeguards and those turnkey swim programs so they can focus on all the other things that make their businesses unique to them and great.
Sure. So then your franchise owner, in order for them to be really successful, they have to be really good at getting out in the community, it sounds like, right? And they're developing relationships. They're not the one that's necessarily in the pool teaching kids how to swim.
We want mayors. If you are a mayor of your town, this is the franchise for you. It is all about relationships, building relationships with, your local community pools, your local schools, all the vendors that we work with. We help our franchisees understand who those key players are in our industry and start to really leverage those relationships. So yeah, in this space, we are a people-driven brand. You have to be able to get out in front of your customer. And to me, honestly, it's been truly the biggest gift to me. I just had a meeting with one of my clients the other day. I'm still an operator. And, he's like, why are you here? Like, can't you send so-and-so? And I'm like, no, like, I love this. This is like, I want to know, how have you been? What do you guys need? What worked last year? What didn't work this year? And those commercial clients, like, I don't churn them. And they're high ticket customers. So for me, it's such one validation that I'm doing work that's really valued. And then two, their trust that, they're trusting us with their residents, with their summer campers, with their, with their country club members. Like, I take a lot of pride in that. So that's been having those two verticals of the brand is so unique and has really allowed us to retain and continually curate our talent pool, which definitely makes us different in the space.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, as a franchise owner, then I'm getting out in the community, I'm developing the relationships. Tell me about where I'm going to source instructors, lifeguards. Where am I going to fill these positions?
Well, some of that is secret sauce, but what I can tell you is that we provide that support. So every geographic area is going to look slightly different, but because we've tooled and retooled and kind of know what works and doesn't work, we're able to help our franchisee onboard those first foundational employees and help them scale up their labor force as they expand. And just to kind of paint a picture of what it is we do in one of our corporate locations is we have to go from about 20 staff members in our non-peak season to about 100. So what does that look like, right? So we have the tools, the LMS, the support, the organizational chart to really function at a high capacity, high volume, with a quick onboarding process, right? And for us, not only does it work for the customer, we take a lot of pride in knowing it works for our staff because we maintain and retain our staff at a much higher rate than benchmarking other, industry competitors. So it's something that, to me, the staff satisfaction is almost as important as the client satisfaction, probably.
Right. Yeah, of course. And although the business probably has some seasonality to it, I would imagine.
It does. Yep. In the Northeast, it does, for sure.
Yeah. But there's still the indoor component.
Of course. And that was part of why we wanted to really flesh out the business model with the indoor component. We wanted to make franchisees, successful year round. Yes, here in the Northeast, there are those seasonal elements to it. But I am so confident that a franchisee outside of this geographic area and those warmer clients is going to knock it out of the park because they have such an opportunity and such a demand year round. I think here in New York, December comes around, there's a lot of people taking out skis and, putting away swimsuits. We still do have a pretty diligent, customer base. In our indoor facilities, but places like Florida, Texas, I could only imagine the type of success our franchisees will have.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell us about your customers. First of all, how do they find you? And who is your typical customer in terms of the age group? What's the most popular age group?
So one of the things I love that this is a question because I'm so passionate about it. So one of the things that was really intentional about our branding was that we wanted to be inclusive to not only children, but also adults. So if you take a look at our category and you just cold call the swim schools, if you, Frank, want to take swimming lessons, most of them, if not all, will say we do not offer swim to adults. And their businesses are not built to support that. That was something, again, that I was really intentional about. I wanted the branding to be fun, but I wanted it to be inviting, and I wanted adults to feel empowered to also learn the skill. Only 1 in 3 adults knows how to swim, which is literally shocking to me in the US. My parents were included in that statistic. So, which again, I think there's this sense of maybe shame or embarrassment that they never learn that skill. So one of the things that we really do is encourage not only the children to learn how to swim, because that's always our core customer, but also like, hey, mom, dad, like, do you know how to swim? And our pricing model reflects that. So when we're selling to the household. So Frank, if your child, you wanted to sign up and you purchase a pack of 12 swim lessons in one of our indoor facilities, you can give 8 to your son and 4 to yourself. And that's how we get mom and dad, grandma, whoever's in their household through the doors, even if it's just for one lesson. Get comfortable. Like, you're trying to teach this life-saving skill to your children. Like, you deserve to also feel comfortable in the water, especially while they're young. So we really, again, our core customer is going to be our children, under the age of 8. But we have seen the segment of our adults growing. And in one of our locations, it makes up almost 30% of our swimmer, which is incredible.
It really is.
Yeah, we have silver swimmers. These are people over the age of 70 swimming. God bless them. They look amazing. It's like such a joy that we're able to offer that in a place that they feel comfortable and supported.
Yeah. Well, Marina, that is a huge differentiator between you and a lot of the swim schools that are out there that are really just, so focused on kids.
Yeah. And I get it, right? Like, I get it at the industry level. They are the greatest at risk. So we should be having strong curriculums and strong operators and instructors to support that because they're at risk. But with that being said, now 1 in 10 homes in the U.S. has a swimming pool in their backyard. 75% of all drownings are occurring there. And I know these stats because that's one of our core offerings. We will send someone to your backyard pool. And for me, I'm looking at the pool, the beautiful, 6-figure investment. I'm like, what have you done to secure this pool? Who else in your household needs to learn how to swim? Like,
sure.
If Nanny is here, Nanny needs to also know how to swim. And I'm not saying perfect Michael Phelps strokes. I'm saying be comfortable, enjoy the water, be able to really have the freedom of being in the water and knowing that you can, save yourself and have the capability, God forbid, to save someone else.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's talk a little bit about training for the franchisees. So what does that look like?
For us, they always begin with just a full onboarding in terms of what our core offerings are, how to deliver those core offerings. And really, we want to set them up to be an entrepreneur, right? So my job is to work alongside my franchisee. But again, it's to empower them to have the skills to do for themselves, right? So it's a lot of, okay, what it means to be a leader. How are we going to influence our staff? How do we manage staff conflicts? Like, how do we onboard our first customers? How do we buy goodwill with those first customers? Have them be advocates and brand ambassadors for us? How do you, sign up on Instagram and start posting? So we do a lot of that sort of, diligence in the onboarding process. And for us, because we're so young as a franchise, we are founder-led. So my franchisee, we have weekly calls with them. They have staffing conflicts. I am there to support. My team is there to support. Any sort of issues they're combating, we've already combated them probably 10 times over again. So for us, it's okay, let's look at our options. Here are the options. Here's how I would approach it. But what do you feel most comfortable with? What works for your customers? And that's sort of how we approach our franchisees as we scale, thinking about, scaling. We're trying to really start to put all those processes, which a lot of it right now obviously is in our operations manuals, our in-person training, our LMS training, but we're trying to take more and more and digitize it just to make it more scalable as we grow.
And if I'm a franchisee and I'm kind of growing out my business, do you want me to focus on using facilities first or going after the private customer, their home, secondary, or is there some sort of mix on how you want me to kind of develop my territory? Because I kind of think of this as I'm in the business of developing my territory, right?
We give a lot of deference on how they launch based on the demographics, and we're going to do our research at corporate.
Okay.
We're going to give the recommendation. However, with that being said, all franchisees are required to have a home-based location, meaning that they have to have a year-round swim program wherever they are, whatever territory they land in. So it's the home base, it's the brand recognition, it's the launch, it's the brand awareness. It's also the start of creating relationships with vendors in your community, other local businesses in your community. So that's first and foremost. And then after a year of operation, we will then give the education on the B2B side of our business, which, as mentioned before, does require a lot more comfort in managing a larger staff. So we want to make sure our franchisees have that experience, understand what it's like to manage a smaller staff, feel comfortable with their pipeline, their talent pool, understand the services before they go and start taking contracts and service, contracts for turnkey swim programs and lifeguard staffing that require that larger labor footprint.
Okay. Yeah. I could see some franchisees, being really gung-ho from the very beginning and want to do
it.
everything.
But slow and steady wins the race, right?
Absolutely.
So I love the enthusiasm. I get it. I was there. And, with our support, there might be some operators that can, right from the onset, really be able and have the skill set to manage. But for us, our baseline, our benchmark is always the launch of an indoor year-round. So non-brick-and-mortar. Again, we're not asking you to build a pool. And then through that, start leveraging the relationships, creating those really fundamental foundational relationships with the community, and then sort of start figuring out, okay, what's my next core offering? Is it at home, right? So a place like Tampa is a place that, has a lot of demand for at-home swim instructors, right? People want the convenience, the personalization. A place, maybe in the Midwest, that's North Carolina is a good example. That's maybe not the next offering. Maybe it really is providing personnel to these larger commercial pools, right?
Okay.
So what's cool is that the franchisee does have deference. We help guide them in which levers they should pull. It just depends sort of on their territory.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about, I assume the franchise is territory-based?
It is.
And how big is the territory?
It's 30,000 children under the age of 12.
Okay, that's a nice size territory. So it gives you a lot of room to run. A
lot of room to grow. A lot of room to swim.
Yeah, exactly. Marina, now I know you've been franchising only for, about a little less than 2 years now, but has anything surprised you about franchising that you weren't expecting?
Oh God, where do I start? I think, and I had this conversation recently with another emerging franchisor. I think there's this expectation as a franchisor that we build it, the FTD's filed, I get my approval in New York State, and I have all the things, and I got the brochures and the website and discovery days all mapped out, and so much work goes into those processes that you just are waiting for the people to come, right? And listen, some brands, that might be their true use case. For us, it's really okay, how do we get out? How do we really advocate for our brand? How do we really differentiate ourselves from our competitors? So I think learning that as a franchisor, what is the best sales process for a brand like ours? How do we deliver? And how do we get really qualified, strong candidates into the brand? So we, for me, I just assumed that I would have 30 franchisees on day one of filing. Right. But thank God I didn't. I've learned so much in having the one. I am very much ready to have more join our brand. So I'm excited. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I think responsible franchisors, we're excited. We're impassioned about what it is we're doing and the business models that we've all created. So, but with that being said, there's a lot that goes into really being able to develop and constantly retool the systems and the processes that the franchisees need to be successful. So happy that we had that year to really kind of see what it was like to be a franchisor and be able to really be okay, this is the type of support that they need. I thought it was this, but no, it's actually not that. They really need, X type of support. And how are we going to build that out? Because if they need it, most likely our future franchisees will also need it.
Yeah, for me, I was surprised that people needed more support on the actual operation of or the knowledge of how to run a business more than anything else than the actual operation of the nuts and bolts of it. That was a big surprise for me. I wasn't expecting that. And I would imagine for you, talking with people, first of all, I'm super impressed that you're making sure that you bring on the right people, and you could have more franchises if you wanted to, but turning people down when you're starting out is difficult. But I'm impressed that you've done that.
Yeah, it's hard because again, we're like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and want to just like plot the brand wherever the wind takes us. But again, knowing what I've known as an operator and having worn that hat, as a seasoned business owner, I know that as a franchisor, the stakes are higher. So making sure that the people that are part of the brand are truly invested in the success of all the franchisees, right? Because it's not just about me, franchisor. It's about the livelihood of everybody who's committing their day-to-day and investing in the services we offer. So I think, my thought process has changed. I had someone recently say to me, well, what's your strategy? Are you going to stay in the Northeast? Are you going to kind of trying to talk through what the expansion strategy was? And, ultimately it's like, if I find the right operators, like the right people that want to buy into the brand and can deliver, I'm like, I do think that, maybe a franchisee in Colorado might seem tactically like might not be the way to go. But if they're the right operator and they understand their community and they know that this is a need in their community, they're going to do better than me just knocking on my back door in New Jersey and selling to someone that just is there to be, you know what I mean?
Just because they're local doesn't mean
local,
it's just the right fit.
And so it's funny. I've sort of swayed. I thought I was going to have a much more streamlined tri-state expansion, but I've met some great people that I just know would be so invaluable to the brand. And, just because they're a flight away instead of a drive away, I also want to be mindful that the right operators will gain the franchise traction versus just plopping a bunch of operators by sheer convenience.
Yeah, of course. What do you see in terms of trends in your industry? Of course, there's been a lot of growth of swim schools and across franchising, but I'm curious in your business, is there anything? I know you kind of mentioned the silver swimmers, I think, but is that what's a growing trend that you see your industry moving towards?
Industry trends. I mean, God, and I'm going to say this with all due respect. I feel like at an industry level, we have not disrupted our industry in quite some time. I truly think that there's so much room to really kind of disrupt. And it's things that keep me up at night because it makes me so excited. So things like technology, leveraging technology, convenience. I mean, I'll just give you an industry, just a stat. Most swim programs, it is a set program, meaning if you're a Tuesday 5 o'clock swimmer, you're a Tuesday 5 o'clock swimmer for 10 weeks, right?
Okay.
And that works great for some customers. What we've decided to do is give convenience to our customer. So just like I can drop into classes at Orange Theory, which is one of my favorite franchises personally, our clients can do the same. So mom and dad can say, hey, this week we're swimming Tuesday with Mr. Ed. Next week we're going to swim Wednesday with Miss Brianna. And you're able to really we make the schedule work for our customers. So just sort of what trends we're seeing in the industry, I hope I'm the trendsetter. So I hope more swim schools offer adult lessons. I welcome it. We have the demand. We want to support these people with this life-saving skills. I hope more swim schools offer convenience. I hope more swim schools, technology gets them excited. I can't say quite yet that I see a lot of people doing it, but it makes me really excited. And it's such a privilege to really kind of tackle it head on.
So in terms of the convenience, are people able to go onto an app or on your website and just do drop-in classes then? That's a huge difference.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've been it's real life right now for us, really intentional about our tech stack. So again, I mentioned technology makes me really excited. Technology, swimming, most people would be like, wait, what are you talking about? But for us was really making sure that our technology supported our core values. And one of those core values is exceeding customer experience through convenience. So, okay, how do we make this process easier? How do we make the onboarding process easier? how do we deliver that feedback loop that our customers need, right? One of the things when we would survey our customers, we would do a report card every month, talk about industry standard, right? Report card every month, maybe a progress report, depending on your program. We right now are delivering skills in real time through text. So like customers, like our new software, which is recently launched, our swim instructors can mark the skills for that particular swimmer. And mom, dad, whoever's on their list, they will automatically get an email and or text message to show this is what they've mastered. This is what's left to master before we can consider this level checked off. So I'm super interested in any technology that supports the feedback loop, makes it a better experience for our customer, and ultimately provides a better offering for our franchisee. We want them focused on talent and sales. And we want the technology to help support us in every other aspect. So very interested in, us as a franchise have invested a lot of time in improving our tech stack. And it's actually something we are doing in real time.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. Plus, you're helping franchisees in a way that they're able to focus on the things that are most important.
Yes.
That is, right, them to get more clients and be able to service the existing ones and not spend time doing so much stuff manually.
No, oh my goodness. I mean, the thought of like email exchanges between, customers and rescheduling lessons. I mean, That's an administrative toll and cost to the franchisee. And something quickly, even for me as I scaled, I was like, wow, this is kind of a roadblock. Like we're bottlenecking right now. And how do I fix that? Like, is my current tech stack supporting the mission of and our core values of the brand? And, it took us a year. Like we dug and we're still developing. Like just recently, our developer was like, hey, we gotta, if you want this is what it's going to cost. This is what the timeline's going to look like. And we're like, this is what we need. So we're very committed to making sure that the process is easy for our consumer. But in that same token is also making sure that, the franchisee is really doing the work we want them to do. And that is selling and advocating for the services that we offer to their community.
Nice. All right, Marina, what is your long-term vision for this company?
I mean, how much time do we have? I mean, for me, I want to take this brand, to the moon. So that's my short answer. I'm excited. It is so fun to be in this like young, nimble state of a brand. So really looking forward to a nationwide expansion. And ultimately, like I have my sights on being a category leader. I want people, when they think of swim schools or think of franchising in the swim school space, or maybe not, right? Like maybe they just really love children's enrichment and like understand the value that it could provide their community. Like I hope that they go and they, think of our brand and message me on LinkedIn and really kind of take a look at what it is we're doing, because I think we're doing some incredible things.
I think so. Marina, I know we had a chance to spend some time together at the Founders Summit back in January. Thank you so much for your support and coming out. And I'm glad you were able to make it out there.
Well, thanks so much for having me there. It was so valuable. And, I think one of the things as an emerging brand is like, we're hungry as founders to like get information. And I will say this about the franchise community, and everybody says it, so you can like fast forward this if you don't want to hear it, because it's so true, is that it is such a welcoming, no gatekeeping. I mean, I'm on monthly calls with about 15 other emerging brands, and everybody's sharing resources, challenges that they're having, wins that they've had. And, it's that type of support, that type of information exchange that makes us all successful, right? Like there's so much space in this world for us to support each other as franchisors and ultimately our franchisees. We want more people to understand the value of what it is that we're doing as a franchise community. So thank you, Frank, for hosting. I think it was so valuable to have a founder's perspective in such a like intimate way where we could just like ask questions. And I texted you after the event. So truly, thank you. It's people like you that motivate emerging brand founders like myself to really like get out and, really start paving the way for our brands.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. Your energy is infectious. I can't wait to watch how your brand grows, Marina. I'm super excited for you. Of course, I want to get the word out. So if anyone was interested in opening a urSwim, where would they go?
So you would go to swimmingschoolfranchise.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I respond to all my messages, so please don't be shy. And I'm easy to find. It's Marina, my first name, at urSwim.com. So if you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. Or if you just want to make a connection, I love connecting in this space. So thank you again, Frank, and your team for hosting.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. First of all, how'd you get such a great URL? You got a great domain name. How did you do that?
A mentor. So a mentor was like, hey, this is available. You might be interested. And I snagged it actually before I was a franchise.
Smart. I'm surprised it was even available when you were trying to get it.
Yeah,
that's great.
It is.
Cool. All right. Well, last thing, Marina, I would love for you to give maybe a piece of advice to people who are someone who's looking to own a franchise, become a franchisee. If you had a friend that wanted to open a franchise, what would be a piece of advice you would give them to make sure that they're making the right choice?
I would say really love the reality and not the idea. So when you're shopping different brands across different industries, really make sure that whatever that reality is, like that's what you love. So if you love, staying open till 2 a.m. and, you love the food industry, or you want something that's a little bit more mobile, non-brick-and-mortar, you really try to make those evaluations. I feel like people in their head might see more of like the actual product or service being delivered and don't actually see what the work is behind it to deliver. So look at the work, make sure it aligns with your resources, your goals, your network, and then, do your due diligence. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to the leadership team and understand what these brands are willing to do. If they're not willing to share at that point, right? Like, then you might want to ask some questions. So make sure you feel connected with their teams, make sure you feel connected with what their core offerings are, and make sure it's a good fit for you and your family, right? Because that's what this is all about. We're all trying to, find that balance, that career that we all love. So it all weighs into the equation, but hopefully you take a look at our brand.
Absolutely. Great advice. Well, thanks again. It was great seeing you again. It's always great connecting with a fellow Long Islander.
I know. Next time you're here, we'll do an in-person.
Sounds great. And you live in my wife's hometown. I can't believe what a small world it is. I think you guys live like not too far, like a few blocks away from where she grew up. Incredible.
What are the chances? And it's so funny because I just had this conversation with someone recently that the franchise community is like kind of small here in New York. So the chances that we are like a rock throw away, it's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, Marina, it was great seeing you again. Thanks so much for being on the show. I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.